Hello again. This should be showing on December 2nd, the second day into our 25 days of Christmas. The second story today is Christmas Every Day. Once there was a little girl who liked Christmas so much she wanted it to be Christmas every day. And as soon as Thanksgiving was over, she began to send letters to Santa to ask if it could be so. Just the day before Christmas, she got a letter from Santa saying she could have Christmas every day for a whole year. Then they would see about having it longer. The little girl was already very excited, getting ready for an old-fashioned once-a-year Christmas that was coming the next day, so perhaps Santa's promise didn't impress her like it should have. She simply decided to keep the secret to herself and surprise everyone as it kept coming true. Then she forgot all about it. She had a wonderful Christmas. She went to bed early so Santa would have a chance to fill the stockings. And in the morning, she was up first to peek into them and find a coin purse and a rubber ball and candy and all kinds of small presents. Then she waited till the rest of the family woke up, and she burst into the library to look at the large presents. Dolls and a little stove and skates and a box of watercolors under the big sparkling tree. She had a splendid Christmas all day. She ate so much candy that she didn't want any breakfast, and for dinner she ate turkey and cranberries and plum pudding and nuts and raisins and more candy. Then she went out sledding and came in crying with a stomachache, and her daddy said it was any wonder, and they all went to bed cross. The little girl slept very heavily and very late the next morning, but she was awakened at last by other children dancing around her bed with their stockings full of presents in their hands. "What is it?" cried the little girl as she rubbed her eyes. "Christmas! Christmas! Christmas!" they all shouted and waved their stockings. All at once it occurred to the little girl that Santa had kept his promise, and her year of Christmases was beginning. She was dreadfully tired, but she sprang up and darted to the library. There it was again, books and dolls and paints. There was the Christmas tree blazing away and the family picking out their presents, but looking pretty sleepy. And her father confused and her mother ready to cry. "What am I going to do with all these things?" said her mother, and her father said it seemed to him like they had just had something like this the day before, but he must have dreamed it. The next day it was the same thing over again, but everyone was getting cross, and at the end of the week so many people lost their tempers that the little girl became frightened, keeping the secret all to herself. She wanted to tell her mother, but she didn't dare, and she was ashamed to ask Santa to take back the gift. So it went on, and it was Christmas on Valentine's Day and Washington's birthday and even April Fool's Day. Turkeys got to be $1,000 apiece, and cranberries went for $10 apiece. All the woods and orchards were cut down for Christmas trees, leaving nothing but fields of stumps, and after a while they had to make Christmas trees out of rags and stuff them with bran. But there were plenty of rags because people got so poor. Buying presents for one another, they couldn't afford new clothes, and they just wore their old ones to tatters. After 4 months, the little girl, whenever she saw those ugly, great, lumpy stockings dangling at the fireplace and saw those disgusting presents around everywhere, burst into tears. In 6 months, she was perfectly exhausted and just lay around, rolling her eyes and panting. By October, she took to sitting down on her dolls. She hated the sight of them so, and by Thanksgiving she was disgusted and just slammed her presents across the room. By By that time, people didn't deliver presents nicely anymore, but flung them across the fence and through the window saying, "Take it, you horrid thing." Well, around Thanksgiving, it had leaked out who had caused all the Christmases. Hardly anyone would play with the little girl. People perfectly despised her for it. For if it hadn't been for her greediness, all these Christmases never would have happened. The little girl began sending letters to Santa, then telegrams, begging him to stop. But all she got back were messages like, "Not at home," or "otherwise engaged." Finally, one night, the little girl fell asleep, and when she woke up, it wasn't Christmas anymore. There was rejoicing everywhere. People hugged each other and cried and kissed for joy. The city carts went around and gathered up all the candy and raisins and nuts and dumped them in the river, making the fish perfectly sick. The little girl went to thank Santa for stopping Christmas and asked him to make sure Christmas never ever came again. But he frowned and asked if she was sure that was what she wanted. "Why not?" the little girl asked. And Santa said now she was behaving as selfishly as before. So she said, "How about once a year like it used to be?" Santa said that was the good old way that had pleased people ever since Christmas began, and agreed. Then the little girl gave Santa a great big hug and skipped the whole way home. She was so glad. Tomorrow, it will be St. Nicholas's Eve in Hans Brinker's day.